Hi there, good evening to you all. My name is Ben, aka Notions. This video is about my journey from when I first started, basically when I first did any drug, and my drug use and how it continued and escalated during my life, and obviously over quite a long period of time. So to start with, when I was very young, before I was 10, I can remember smoking a joint of bud, so cannabis, but it just made me extremely paranoid when I was a kid, and I thought that people could see what I was doing, like there's a camera in the room looking at me in the third person, and this was very irritating at the time, but it's like the positive side effects was that cannabis made me talk to my mates a lot more, and I was a much nicer person because I was so much calmer than when I hadn't smoked it. But obviously, before I was 10, I only smoked one joint, and it wasn't until I was a teenager that I started experimenting with cannabis and speed and ecstasy, also known as MDMA. But back when I was young, we used to buy ecstasy tablets, but they are still around now, but most people will just buy MDMA and make lines of it and sniff it to get high, and basically it makes you much more open, and you like to hug people, and you like to talk to anyone you see about anything at all that's on your mind, and you can find yourself in some quite strange situations where you might not expect things to happen, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit weird sometimes, but it's always really good as long as you don't drink too much water, which can cause the brain to swell if you take ecstasy or MDMA, as well as speed really, but you shouldn't drink too much water. You just need enough water to keep yourself hydrated. So if you get dry mouth, just drink a couple of sips of water, but don't go drinking pints of water, or you could actually die from it. After I was a teenager, like between 18 and 19 really, is when I was heavily smoking cannabis. I was smoking 1/4 ounce a day, so it was 2 ounces a week I would buy, and it would cost me 200 quid a week for my cannabis back then, because it was 100 quid on the ounce for proper green, which was very strong. Well, at the time it was very strong anyway, and it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I started experimenting with the hard two drugs that I talk about. But I was sniffing a bit of cocaine here and there when I was in my early 20s, and it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I did crack and heroin, because both of those drugs kind of went hand in hand, because I would get high on smoking crack, smoking quite a lot of pipes, one after another, quite often, and I used heroin to come down, but the heroin that I got was very bashed, so I had to combine it with an awful lot of diazepam and pregabalin, also known as Lyrica in the United States of America, and these two prescription drugs would boost the effect of the heroin. But more recently though, well, quite a long time ago really, but even so, I was prescribed 80 ml of methadone a day to help combat the withdrawal symptoms I get from not taking Oxycontin every day, because there was a stage that I was taking 150 milligrams of Oxycontin each evening, and this would make me really gouge out and nod, and basically I was totally not with it at all, and I was probably quite close to dying of a overdose quite often, because I would just black out, or pass out, like be unconscious, but somehow I woke up eventually. Sometimes I'd sleep for 15 to 20 hours after taking Oxycontin, and a lot of diazepam, between like 200 and 300 milligrams of diazepam each evening, just to make the effect of the oxycodone much stronger, and I'd have a much better, to be honest, gouged out effect, I should say, in my mind, and my eyes would be closed, and I would be speaking to people on the phone, and I'd even be typing messages to people on, back then, MSN Messenger, whilst my eyes were closed, because I can type without looking at the keyboard. So it was just logical relief for me to do that. I haven't touched any opioids or opiates for about 11 months now, and I'm not taking crack at all anymore. So the end of that was quite a while ago now, and I never want to go back to taking crack every day, because it basically wiped out all of my money on my payday. Not even my payday, because my money with Santander, it used to go in at 9:30 or 10 p.m. before midnight, the night before it was due to go in, for some odd reason. And so I would basically spend all of my benefit money on crack, and I would also get a little bit of money from selling benzos, Valium, clonazepam, sometimes Xanax as well. Xanax is one of the most powerful benzos that I've tried. I used to get GG232 bars, 2 milligram bars. Sometimes I would buy these ones called Red Devils, which are obviously red and said to contain 5 milligrams of alprazolam, which is the generic name for Xanax. And I would get rid of quite a lot of these, but I'd also take quite a few of them at the same time, which isn't a good idea if you're on an opioid, or even if you're perfectly sober. It isn't a good idea, because you can die if you take a lot of benzos, although that is a bit unlikely. If you take enough, it is possible to die, so be careful. And as for street benzos as well in the UK, right now there's a bad batch of especially Valium going around the southwest of England anyway, in Devon where I live, and these diazepam are said to contain fentanyl and a much stronger benzodiazepine medication within the so-called diazepam tablets. They actually look like diazepam, and 10 milligram ones, the blues, and they have the right markings on for them to be legit blue diazepam, and they can be tether activists present. Those are the 3 most popular manufacturers of diazepam that I have come across, but there are probably a few more manufacturers out there which I haven't come across yet. So basically what I'm talking about now is what I was on for most of my adult life since 2004. I was prescribed lorazepam to start with by the doctor for severe anxiety back in 2004, and this is where all of my major problems began, and my major drug taking began then. But obviously done 3 drugs before that. Thought if you include hash, of course. But it just progressively got worse because I needed to treat my paranoia from smoking cannabis and opioid withdrawal sometimes by taking a lot of benzos. But the flip side to that is that diazepam or Xanax withdrawal can include very bad anxiety and also paranoia, which most people don't even think about. But withdrawal of benzos is said to be longer lasting and worse generally than withdrawal from heroin. But both are awful withdrawals, are an awful rattle, and you'll take a lot of encouragement by your family and friends and medical professionals in order for any addict to get clean. In order to get clean, everyone who's addicted to both drugs and alcohol, but obviously alcohol is a drug as well, perhaps one of the very worst ones because it's actually a poison. Anyway, it takes a lot of encouragement to get off of drugs, and the user has to be totally willing and wanting to get off of their choice of drug before they will actually get off the drug. If they don't want to do it, the fact is that they won't ever do it until they are basically wanting to get off the drug, if you get what I mean. You can't force someone off of a drug because they will find a way to get it somehow, and it's difficult, but if you have enough motivation and willpower, you can combat any addiction that you will ever get in the world, in my opinion. But some people are just not willing to give in, so they'll continue to take drugs like heroin and crack until they either die of a heart attack or an overdose likely, and obviously die if they're unlucky. And that's probably what would have happened to me if I didn't move house and basically stop my drug use, which was well out of hand, and I ended up getting sectioned for 9 months in North Devon District Hospital for my drug use and withdrawal from drugs, and because I wasn't taking care of myself as well. These are the reasons I was sectioned, and I was quite often finding myself in segregation, which was just a room with a big door with a massive bolt on it, a perspex window that was reinforced. It had a toilet, dirty looking toilet, a sink without handles for the tap, so it was push button, so you couldn't hurt yourself on it, and it had about a ½ inch to an inch thick blue single mattress on the floor, but it was just this thin, soft thing, really thin and uncomfortable. And there was also a soft chair, and there was a hard concrete floor, and the window right at the top would open to let fresh air in, but this window was a good 25 foot up, probably about 20 foot above the floor ground, so it was very high. Anyway, I'd like to say that I'm off the hard drugs now. I smoke CBD hemp when I'm at my parents' house, and this really chills me out and helps me sleep. But when I'm living in Bideford in my supported accommodation place, I don't smoke CBD hemp because the staff don't allow it, or rather the person at the top of the chain doesn't allow it. The house, the owner, or somebody to do with who owns this property won't allow me to smoke the CBD hemp on the premises, which is a real shame because it makes me much more relaxed, chilled out, and a lot more outgoing. And basically, that's it. I'll end this video now, but if you have any questions at all, or things you want to discuss, please feel free to leave me a comment on the comment section of my video, and I'll reply as soon as I can. And please like, subscribe, and also share this video, as it might help other people combat their addictions, not just to drugs, but also including alcohol and gambling, anything like that. If you put your mind to it, you can beat your addiction. So thanks for watching this. Have a nice day all. Bye.